You ever wonder how some companies can seemingly sell their stuff at super cheap prices? Meanwhile, the almost exact same thing sells at other stores, but with a way more expensive price tag.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Jim. You might want to take a closer look at those manufacturer tags. I bet they say made in China.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me in the least, Bernie. With that being said, did you see the news about those two Denver area companies and their top executives being indicted? They were charged in connection with a scheme to evade tariffs by misrepresenting Chinese-made forklifts as American-made, and then had the gonads to sell those same forklifts to the federal government.
That's wild, Jim. How does that even happen? Endless Sales and Octane Forklifts are the two companies involved, along with current executives Brian Firkins and Jeffrey Blasdell and former executive J.R. Antshak. Oddly enough, and to muddle things a little more, Endless Sales has an alternate name and is a DBA doing business as, with a storefront name of Discount Forklifts. They are also listed with the FMCSA SaferNet as active with 2 power units, which they probably use to make pickups and deliveries. As it turns out, in an obvious attempt to confuse things, Endless Sales is operated under multiple trade names, including Octane Forklifts, OctaneForklifts.com, and Discount Forklift, and everything is run out of the same business address. According to court documents, Endless Sales bought the Chinese-manufactured forklifts and would then use their other arm of Octane Forklifts to rebrand them as U.S.-manufactured vehicles. They then sold them through Endless to government customers. Things that truly make you go, Each executive was indicted on charges of conspiring to commit wire fraud by a federal grand jury in Denver, according to the U.S. Department of Justice.
The indictment also accuses the two companies and the top executives of conspiring with an unnamed Chinese national and a Chinese manufacturer to create fake commercial invoices. The reason behind the fake invoices was to enable them to fraudulently undervalue the cost of forklifts that Endless and Octane imported into the United States, thereby defrauding the government of over $1 million in applicable tariffs, duties, and fees. Firkins, Blasdell, and Antshak will all face additional wire fraud charges as well. Blasdell was an especially bad boy and also faces an additional charge of making false statements to the government. If convicted, the individuals face a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000.
And they weren't small potatoes either. They were selling forklifts to FEMA and the Department of War. Quote, defrauding the United States to profit from goods made in adversarial nations like China undermines our economic and national security, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. The Justice Department is committed to protecting American taxpayer dollars, defending our national security against those who would undermine it, and holding accountable anyone who pursues illegal profits over our country.
They got away with this scheme for 6 years, from around June 2018 to June 2024, before being caught and investigated. Now, they have been indicted, and then on the agenda is jail time for these rip-off artists.
They are definitely in trouble. In addition to all of the other charges, the DOJ's Office of Public Affairs said the added charge of conspiring to enter goods into the U.S. by means of false statements carries an individual maximum penalty of 5 years in prison and a fine of $250,000 or a penalty of $500,000 or twice the gain derived from the offense for corporations. With that being said, my advice is to heed the phrase that former First Lady Nancy Reagan made famous. Just say no.
Investigators from the Procurement Collusion Strike Force, yeah, that's the real name of a government agency, worked with agents from the Army, Air Force, GSA, Homeland Security, and even the VA to trace the paper trail.
The different agencies worked together on this one and dug into the invoices and found 2 sets, one for customs and one for the buyers.
Unreal, Bernie. The gonads on these guys to think they could get away with this scheme. The Chinese supplier helped them make fake paperwork, and once the government compared import records to what the companies billed, the whole house of cards came tumbling down. Here's how it worked. They would buy forklifts cheap from China, then underreport the value to customs in order to dodge import duty fees. Once they have the forklifts at their facility, they would then peel off the Made in China labels and put on Made in USA labels. Then turn around and sell these relabeled forklifts to government agencies.
So basically, in the big picture, they were stealing from the taxpayers and putting honest American companies out of business.
And this kind of fraud isn't confined to just smaller companies. The big boys sometimes try to get away with fraud too. I'm talking about big names like the Ford Motor Company.
Oh, I remember that. Something about van seats, right?
Yeah. Between the years of 2009 and 2013, Ford imported their Transit Connect vans from Turkey. They installed fake rear seats to make them look like passenger vehicles. That way they would pay less import fees with a tariff rate of only 2.5%. Once they cleared customs, Ford ripped out the seats and sold them as cargo vans, which should have been taxed at the much higher rate of 25%, which is a huge difference.
So in other words, the Ford Motor Company saved hundreds of millions dodging the chicken tax. Makes you wonder if that was the reason Ford didn't need to take the bailout that the others took.
Exactly. The DOJ and Customs fought Ford in court for years. In March 2024, Ford finally settled for $365 million. No admission of guilt, but that's a lot of money to walk away from. So why should truckers care about tariff cases and customs fraud? Because it changes your costs, parts, tools, shop gear, even the trucks you drive.
When companies cheat on tariffs, they undercut the honest manufacturers. That means fewer U.S. jobs, less domestic freight, and more imports flooding the market.
Right. And when the feds finally catch them, prices shoot up, contracts freeze, and truckers feel it first. Freight slows down, and warehouse delays hit your pocket.
A couple years back, I hauled to a big warehouse in Kansas. The manager bragged about getting new forklifts cheap. Manuals were half in Chinese, labels rubbed off. Not sure if it had anything to do with this current situation or not, but it's got me thinking.
That's the ripple effect right there. What starts as a paperwork scam ends with truckers burning hours at the dock. The DOJ says this case is part of a bigger Buy America enforcement wave. They're coming after companies lying about where their stuff's made, especially anything tied to federal projects.
And that includes warehouses, logistics yards, and even state DOT jobs. So if your company's bidding government work, better keep those origin certificates straight.
You can bet the Procurement Collusion Strike Force isn't done. They've got AI tools now comparing customs data to purchase orders. For fleets, mechanics, and owner-ops, here are some tips for you that might just save you a headache or two. 1. Watch where your parts and tools come from. Fake origin labels mean warranty trouble. 2. Keep invoice copies for everything, especially on government-funded projects. 3. If a deal's too good to be true, it probably is and involves fake import docs. 4. This kind of stuff can freeze freight lanes real quick. Contracts can end on a dime, and promised or contracted loads can suddenly vanish.
And don't forget, truck manufacturers are under the same microscope. Ford's case shows even the big boys get nailed for tariff tricks.
Since 2023, DOJ and Customs have boosted their trade fraud task forces. They're using software that flags shipments with mismatched values or fake made-in claims.
That's why drivers are seeing more cargo inspections and longer waits at ports and rail hubs. And if you're hauling 20 or 40-foot box containers from overseas, be ready for random checks. It's part of the same enforcement wave.
Tariff fraud might sound like white-collar stuff, but it hits real blue-collar folks like us as well. Truckers, warehouse workers, shop techs, the whole supply chain.
When someone lies, cheats, or steals something, the rest of us always seem to end up paying for it, one way or the other. Honest freight, fair trade, and solid American jobs depend on keeping the system clean.
What do you think? Should companies caught cheating lose their contracts for good? Drop us a comment with your thoughts below. We are trying to grow this channel to help truck drivers along with educating the general public. You can help us out by smashing that like button and the notification bell. Remember to subscribe and share this with another driver. Protect your load, protect your rig, and protect yourself.
Leave us a comment below with your thoughts and ideas. If it's a good idea, we will share it with everyone. Subscribe for more trucking truth, and together we'll keep hammering this issue till somebody listens. Well, my friends, stay safe and stay loaded out there. Catch you on the rebound. Remember to keep that left door closed and your hands on the wheel.